Hi, J.E.
Hi, Trisha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. It's Tuesday. I can't complain. It's not Monday anymore.
That's always a plus. One more day closer to the
Absolutely.
weekend.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to learn about your books and you. So let's jump in. Tell me a little bit about yourself, what genre you write in, and all about your books.
All right. Well, I write in paranormal romance, urban fantasy. I used to write in, well, still dabble in horror. I have a zombie short story out there that people are going, when's the series coming out, when's the series coming out? I'm like, well, I'll get to zombies at some other time. um but my love is really urban fantasy, and I'm going to be going into fantasy, doing a prequel to the Season of the Dragon that takes place back in pre-Mayan times. So I have to create the whole world because at that time we weren't here. So it's not like urban fantasy where I can take today's world and just put magic into it.
That's
So
definitely a different beast, creating a whole new world.
yes, it is, and it's taking me longer than most of my writing takes. I usually finish a book in 3 months, and that's from beginning to the end of edits because I schedule my editor out every 3 months.
That is amazing. Kudos to you. And it must be super fun for readers to get your books that fast.
I hope so.
As a
um,
reader, I like that. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I try to, once a story gets a hold of me, it comes out fast and furious, and then the edits begin, and the edits are always daunting at times because you have this straw man that you've finished, and now you have to build the layers of sensory and feeling and depth as you go through it. So it's the first draft is really fast. But it's the rest of the passes that take the time.
Yes, yes. And do you leave your authors or rereaders on cliffhangers?
Probably. I try to wrap up the current book, but there is a cliffhanger for if I'm doing a series for the overarching series. Obviously, you want them to pick up the next book, so there is that little dangling carrot.
Yes.
um, what I consider a cliffhanger versus what somebody else considers a cliffhanger, I don't know. Um, I like books that make me anticipate the next book anyway, when I'm reading. And I will, when I'm done with one, if the other one's out, I will go get it if I'm invested.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So it's like I'm a voracious reader as well. So um so yeah, kind of.
Okay, so tell me about your urban fantasy series.
Okay, Season of the Dragon. Hold on, let's put that up there. I have this nice hardcover that's out
Goody.
now for the trilogy, which the ebook is coming out on January 21st. But this one, it takes place during, it starts during the pandemic. And yes, the pandemic had something to do with it. Um, all the quarantines and the earth was quiet. And in the book, the monsters woke from the extreme quiet, and they decided it's time for them to rule.
Oh,
And they wanted
interesting.
humans to be their slaves. So it's not very fun for the humans. And it takes place in New York City. So at least they have some way of getting around through the subway systems. Um, there's no electricity because the monsters have taken down our electricity. They've taken down our ability to fight back. So we're kind of at their mercy. Um, and one of the dragons decides that he doesn't really like the direction that the monsters are going, and he was allied with them in the beginning, and he ends up allied with Holly, who's my main character, because she found a way to find one of the monster's weaknesses. So he partners with her and they try to take them down. That's the entire book, or entire series, is them trying to save both their species, basically.
That is such a creative idea. So the monsters are after the humans as well as the dragons?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in the beginning, yes. They, the dragons were part of the monster team that wanted to rule the earth.
And what kind of monsters are these?
There's a sea serpent, which is basically the Hydra, but multiplied across the earth. And then the Leviathans, which, in my mind, it looks more like a Godzilla, or, a big lizard with lots of teeth and claws. So yes.
That does give us something to think about or focus on other than the pandemic.
Yes. Yes.
I like that idea.
So just don't be quiet. Listen to that rock and roll really loud.
Right. Don't have your headphones in.
Yep, exactly. So that was my, well, what if, when I got the book covers, because the book covers I didn't get at first. And my cover artist said, well, the person who bought them doesn't want them. Do you want them? I'm like, yes. They're gorgeous.
So the idea came from seeing a cover.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
neat.
Absolutely. Same one with this one. This is a Christmas one. It's Silent Night. That I saw the cover and I'm like, ooh, I have to get that and I have to write that. So that was a quick little one that I threw together in November.
Very cool for Christmas. That's amazing.
Yep, exactly.
How fun. And my dog has never done this before. I don't know what she thinks she needs. I think she wants out and food. We have those so
Aww.
like, no, don't put me down. So I apologize for that.
That's okay. That's all right. I love dogs. I don't have one.
So the name of the trilogy, say it again for me.
The name of the trilogy is Season of the Dragon.
Season of the Dragon, and it's 3 books, and it's a complete series now?
Yes, it's a complete series now. Yep.
And that will release on January 21st of 2022, correct?
Yes. Yep. The ebook
cool.
will. The hardcover I did before Christmas in case people wanted it, but ordering it from Amazon before Christmas, I guess there's a paper shortage. So it took, weeks to get it instead of, days like normal. So
it's a beautiful book. That's super fun.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people love those hardcovers and paperbacks. So
yeah, I this one I just did in hardcover because paperback in the size, I don't think it fit the Amazon limit or the limits for the number of pages. But I was able to get my cover artist to do the hardcover and make it just a little bit bigger.
That looks really nice. It's super fun.
Exactly. It's a special edition, I guess.
So tell me about Silent Night.
Silent Night is about Santa's daughter, who's a monster hunter. Yes, there's a theme here. But that's her job most of the year. But on Christmas Eve, she protects Santa on the sleigh from monsters who attack the sleigh. And this particular Christmas is pretty daunting for them. So
well, we'll have to download it to find out what happens to Santa and his daughter.
Yes. And I've gotten a lot of good reviews on it, and my daughter read it. I got the cover because she hasn't really read anything of mine in years, because she, my first book was like an erotic thriller that I wrote when she was 12. She took a sneak peek, and that was the last thing she ever read of mine. She's like, I have a picture of you in my mind. I don't want to ruin it. like, okay. And then I saw that and I sent it to her. I said, you have to read this one. And she said, only if I can help you write it. And I'm like, okay. And I wrote the things and I sent her the pages, and she was funny because I don't think she really expected me to accept her criticisms or feedback, because the first couple of pages was all like redlined. And I mean, things like I had confetti and she said, no, it's a Christmas book. You have to have glitter. The color of the glitter, she was very specific on, and she changed it. And I let her, because she, my daughter is all things Christmas. She is just a Christmas freak. So that's why I saw the cover. I loved it. I bought it. I wrote the story for her. And those were some of the inputs she had. But the rest, after the first chapter, the rest of it was very sparse on her feedback, which was good. It was just the, confetti to glitter. Anytime I had confetti, she changed it to glitter.
Well, you have to set the scene and the whole
Right.
ambiance of the book going forward.
Exactly. I mean, she has my main character has a sword named Joy that sings Christmas songs every time it's unsheathed. so that gives you a little bit. It's very Christmassy. So
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm
it
gonna have to
was.
grab that one.
It was a lot of fun to write.
Yeah, and what a great project to do with your daughter as well.
Yep, exactly. So now I've written books with both my children. My son, when he was 12, we wrote the Death Chronicles together. So the first 3 books of that, he had the idea. He's like, Mom, can I tell you about a story I'm thinking about? And I'm like, sure. And we went for a walk. This was at our summer place in Maine. Walked down the beach, and he was telling me about it. And it was actually a pretty decent storyline. And at the end, he goes, will you write it with me? I'm like, absolutely. And he was shocked.
Very cool. And is he a co-author on the book?
Yeah, he is. He
Very
absolutely is.
fun.
He did the outlines. When I was stuck in a direction, I consulted him. There's a scene in there. This was the funniest thing. You think, a mother and a 12-year-old sitting and having a conversation. In the scene in the book, the kid kisses his girlfriend. And I'm like, what did that feel like? He goes, I don't know. And I'm like, what did her hair smell like? He goes, I don't know. I don't go around smelling girls' hair. So I looked at him. I said, well, maybe you should. and then I said, you can't just say it. You have to give all the different sensory things. What did he feel like when that happened? Give me a description. So finally he thought about it and he said, it's like falling on a roller coaster when the roller coaster falls. And I'm like, okay, I can work with that. Then I said, what about her hair? What kind of shampoo does she use? And he goes, it's strawberry shampoo. So I got the information out of him, after that first embarrassing, turning red and going, Mom, I explained, and he understood, and he helped me write the scene.
Very cool. And is he going on to be an author
He's
himself?
he's written some short stories, and the last one I read was pretty good. I didn't have that much criticism, but he learned from me, and I am not easy on my children, especially where writing is concerned. My daughter, she has great ideas, but she can't spell worth a damn. So I'm always correcting her posts when she posts something for her business. I send her something. Oh, you misspelled this, and she fixes it immediately.
Oh, I'm not a good speller either, so I understand the struggle there.
Yeah. Yep. And with my son, I'm like, okay, you have all the stage direction. You need the emotion. So, I've gotten him so he has built his story building stuff to be able to have all the layers now, which is really good. So he
Yeah,
enjoys
definitely.
it.
So tell me about the Death Chronicles.
The Death Chronicles, the ones we wrote together, is about the son of death. and he learns he has to take over at a certain age, and he's not real thrilled about that. And then, those are the first trilogy is that piece of it. And then later in life, um, the last 4 books I wrote, the rest of the trilogy, which is Death Chronicles 2, which is about Death's daughter.
So the does the brother not take over, or you're not going to tell me that? Or does the son not take over? Yes. Maybe you can't tell me that.
I can't really, because there's death, there's fate, there's reapers, there's a war in the reaper world that spills over into the real world through that trilogy. So it's whether or not he takes the job, and if he doesn't, what are the ramifications? Because there's always ramifications
Of course.
if you don't.
You can't just escape death, right?
Exactly. Pretty much. So it's his living with choices and correcting things that have gone wrong or trying to. So that was his storyline. And it's
Very
really
cool.
funny because I think he picked it up by watching Supernatural with me. Yes, I had my young son watching Supernatural with me for many, many years. But he, that sparked his imagination. So
Fun. And I love that you put a daughter of death in there.
hmm yes, yeah, that's an interesting. That's again another Reaper rebellion. So, but yes,
Those are
uh,
all very fun characters. But then it leads to be that there would be a mother death, or at least someone paired
fate,
with him, which is kind of
fate,
interesting.
fate.
Fate. Okay, so
Yes,
fate and death. Okay.
yes, fate and death, and I've done Lucifer's daughter. I have um, angel offspring that are on Earth. So, those all weave together. All my earlier series touch on each other, and in some cases, the characters are recurring.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Yes,
I can never let my characters go. So my
they
current
talk to me.
series is right. I don't
Yep.
want to close the book, right? Or
Mhm.
close the series. So my current series is spin off of the prior one. I just
Right.
weave them in a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, the people who I mean, even in the trilogy that I wrote with Katie, my co-host on Spilling Ink, towards the end of it, they do run into some of the characters from my world. So it was interesting that they crossed paths. And
That's
then they were in the Death Chronicles. The characters from that book was in Death Chronicles, so it was kind of fun.
that's a lot of fun. Yeah, I love it. So you were saying that some of your angels progeny are now on Earth in some of your series.
Oh yeah, they're
Okay.
all yes, they're all on Earth. Um, and in the beginning, when the first series I had, as I said, it's an erotic thriller with paranormal psychic abilities. My characters have psychic abilities, and their history um, unfolds in 3 series after that one. Because I mean, they're weaved into other series, but the reason why they ended up together was because of their angel blood.
Interesting. Neat.
So,
I have a short story that's a prequel to a prequel, but
yep.
it's on the origin of witches and vampires. And
Ooh,
in this, to give away a little bit, maybe, yeah, descendants of angels and maybe other ethereal beings. I won't give too much away, but yeah, I love seeing that origin piece and creating the origin piece and making it real, the urban fantasy real and fit into our human history. So
oh
I'm
yeah.
obsessed
I
with
did.
that.
Yeah, I did that. I have a vampire series that weaves in through the angel blood. Um, but I have a book, Lilith, which is the creation of vampires.
Hmm. I do too. So we're going to have to compare those. So
Yes.
you're going to have to tell me all the names of these books. Now we need to go back. So the erotic, the first erotic paranormal. What is the name of that one?
That is the Games thriller series.
The Games thriller series.
Yes.
Okay. So then you have a Lilith book. What is the name of that one?
That one, the name of the prequel to Nighthawk series, it was the Nighthawk series, is Lilith.
Oh,
So
okay.
Lilith is the prequel to that, and then there's Nighthawk, and then there's the Ryan Chronicles, and there's the Steve Williams series. That's an FBI thriller series with paranormal aspects. So all of these intertwine with the characters coming in and go, having cameos and things like that. So
right. So once we enter your world, we could just experience everything.
yes.
Very fun. I love it.
The earlier ones are much more graphic in both the sex scenes and the violence. So the Games thriller series is not for the faint of heart. And that's the one that my daughter happened to glance at. I wouldn't read anything until this one.
Right. And why do you think you've become less graphic with your book?
Probably because it wasn't, it's more of my imagination than recurring nightmares and fears of a parent, fears of a, a woman, all of these things that were stored up for years in my head, and all the stories built and built and built. And then I just wrote them once I was, unleashed.
That
So
is very cool. Where do you, besides covers, where do you get, and your son, I guess, helped start all of this as well. Where do you get inspiration from?
A lot of covers, one. Just the what if scenarios in life, like, oh, like, the Dragon series that I did, what if? It was like I saw the covers, they were great, but it's like, okay, now I got to come up with a story. And I'm like, ooh, we're in a pandemic. What if? And I get ideas from television shows, just looking at them going, ooh, that would be kind of a neat idea to explore.
Very cool. When you read, what are your favorite authors?
Right now it's Laura Thalassa. I think that's how you say her name. I always butcher it. Her Four Horsemen series was just fantastic. Up until this year, The Stand was my favorite book by Stephen King. But I read, actually it was 2021, not this year. I read Death by Laura. It's the last one in her Four Horsemen series. That eclipses The Stand.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yes, yep. I read her Bargainer series over a Christmas vacation. That was really good too. I hadn't read that before. And by the way, her Four Horsemen series, her first cover for Pestilence was the reason why I bought that book. It was a one-click, ooh, that's a beautiful cover. I didn't even read the description, which is not normal for me because, since I became a writer, I'm really picky at the stories that I read. I have to be pulled in and I have to be pulled through the story. And my God, that story did it.
Very good. That's good to know.
It lived up to the cover. And I have gone back to try to read it to try to figure out what exactly she did that sucked me in. Every time I open that book, I get sucked back in. It's just like I can't objectively stand back and analyze. And it's like that to me is magical in a book.
Definitely, yeah. If you can't like pinpoint, okay, this action piece drew me in, or this action piece, or this character, or this emotion, or this whatever, it just, yeah. And maybe get your son or daughter to help you analyze that.
Yeah, probably. I also like Lindsay Hall. I like her Dragon Gift series, and that's a whole, a whole web of books. There's at least 20 of them. different series of different characters that are all connected in that world. Again, it's, you get into one world and you get to explore all of these people.
Very
So,
cool. And do you you said you have a podcast, and do you
yes.
interview all these authors on your podcast?
Yes. I haven't had Laura on because I haven't been able to connect with her, but I've had quite a few others, and both indie authors and traditionally published authors we've had.
And remind me of the name again, just so my listeners know.
Spilling Ink, and it's usually
Spilling-
on Saturday nights. Right now we're doing two Saturday nights a month instead of 4, because I need a life. When you work full time and have that, it's a little hard. So we've gone down to 2 instead of every Saturday. So I think it's the first and the second we're targeting at this point.
Spilling Ink. I'm going to look that up and listen to them.
Thank
Would
you.
be super fun for my listeners as well.
Yes. And yeah.
You've told us a lot. This is my favorite question to ask authors. What do you want your readers to experience when they're reading your book or book?
I want them to get lost into the story. I want them to be taken out of their homes or taken out of where they are and actually step into my world and experience it, the emotions, the feelings, the sensory. I want them there.
That sounds super fun. Any last tidbits for us? What do you have coming up next? You have your release of the trilogy.
Yes. And then I have a vampire hunter book that's the series that I've started. That's coming out in April. I have 2 of my fractured fairy tales that are coming out this year. One is in the Rituals and Runes collection, and the other is in Shifters Ever After. So I'm doing the Aladdin story in Rituals and Runes, and Beauty and the Beast in Shifters Ever After.
Those sound super fun. We will be so excited to follow you everywhere.
Thank you, Trisha.
Where can people find you if they want to look you up?
My website, it's www.jetaylor75.com. Got to have that 75.
75, okay.
.com. And all my books are on there. My blog, links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think LinkedIn's out there too. So wherever I am, there's links on my website and my newsletter. So
awesome. We will go there and check you out. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for
having me. And I'll
having
text
me.
you soon. Bye.
Bye.